Now we start. Here we go, back to the event. Okay. So welcome to Windi Muziasari. Just an introduction, and then I will leave the floor to you. So Windi, I'm very happy that you join us today because she is a PhD researcher that decided to switch her career and open her own company. She has gained years of experience and especially on something that I'm not very familiar about. So Windi, please correct me if I'm wrong, about antibiotic resistance from environmental samples, such as wastewater, rivers, and lake. And she has, using all this knowledge that she gained during her PhD and postdoc at University of Helsinki, right? And she wanted other researchers at university and the research institution and hospital to gain access to those technologies that she's been studied about. So that's why she moved basically from academia to becoming an entrepreneur. And she founded this company that she will tell soon about, which is called Resistomap in 2018. And it's quite an innovation company, right, Windi? Because it's the first company in the world that she's starting to commercialize these antibiotic resistant monitoring services in the environment. So the headquarters are in Helsinki. So Windi, she's based in Helsinki. And Resistomap, so her company mission is to mitigate the spread of antibiotic resistance by providing tools for this monitoring. And as I said, it's not my field, but I thought that this kind of study was only into humans. So it's really interesting to hear about. So maybe you can tell more about these peculiar things. I think I will leave the floor to you, Windi, and you can explain way better than me what is Resistomap about. I will now stop sharing my screen and I leave the floor to you. Thank you, Windi, for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Lucia, for introduction. So this, wait a moment, my presentation. Yes. Yeah. Hello again, everyone. I'm Windi. I will talk more about myself later on, like after I talk about the Resistomap itself, then you will know how the story, how this Resistomap built, starting from my research time when I moved to Finland. But yeah, let's start with talk about Resistomap. So we are mapping antibiotic resistance across the globe. First of all, maybe just a quick background why we work on antibiotic resistance. Some of you may know antibiotic resistance. We call them also a silent pandemic compared to COVID-19, of course. But this is also a big, or like, let's say, it's a very global problem, because just recent studies show in 2019, means like before COVID-19, that antibiotic resistance associated with almost 5 million deaths. So it's like almost like, 3 times than the COVID-19 yearly death. And of course, not to mention about the global economy problem also due to antibiotic resistance. And yeah, so antibiotic resistant, most of the people, like Lucia said, they thought it mostly in human, right? But I'm focusing on antibiotic resistant issue in the environment, because antibiotics are used not only in human, but also in animals. And of course, in the manufacturers, when antibiotics are manufactured. And when antibiotics are used, the bacteria can develop resistance. So it means that our waste, our poo, let's be precise, that it can be released to the environment through the wastewater treatment. And if the waste are not well treated, means that those resistant bacteria can spread to our surrounding environment, especially in the water environment. And it's also from the animal. So if a resistant bacteria develop in the gut of animal gut, and including, animal farms, our pet, and also in aquaculture. And those resistant bacteria also can release to the environment if the waste from animal farms or from aquaculture are not treated well. especially from the hospital, because in hospital antibiotics are used routinely and in a high amount of concentration. So this is that's very important. Even WHO stated that the global monitoring of this antibiotic resistance is important, especially in hotspot where the resistance is developing and spreading. And that's why Resistomap comes in. We try to help researchers at the university, hospital, or research institute to monitor the presence and the prevalence of this resistant bacteria from environmental samples. So we can work in aquaculture sector, in agriculture, in hospital, in water environments, also in wildlife, and in the wastewater treatment plants, of course. So how we do that, we receive the samples from, of course, from the customers. Usually it's in the wastewater. Normally we receive wastewater and manure at the moment, but of course it can be any type of water samples or from sediments or soil samples, or even stool samples from the wildlife, as mentioned. Usually those samples usually sent to us in dry ice. And that's why many of the customers also sending us already ready DNA samples that are extracted from those environmental samples. So we receive the samples in our laboratory, and we provide the analysis to detect and quantify the genes associated with this antibiotic resistance. And we deliver the result through an interactive dashboard. So it means that as long as you get the internet, you can get the access of this data anywhere. And then you can share the result, of course, to your colleagues, to your counterpart, and even for your presentation. And that's and usually the most important in our case, like we try to deliver the result within 10 working days. Means it's really fast, right? And it's very important, I believe, to support your research. And then, as I mentioned, the customers can be researchers from universities, research institute, like governmental research institute. And now we are also piloting with hospitals, animal farms, aquaculture farms, and also from the municipalities and the water utility where they're handling the wastewater treatment plant. So since 2019, where we are fully operated, now we have analyzed more than 170 projects from 34 different countries, and that means that we already analyzed over 3,000 samples. And most of them are, as I mentioned, from wastewater, water samples, and from soil samples. But of course, we measure also from manure, sediment, stool, sludge, and others. Others can be like from surface of the environment, like for example, surface of the tools or on the wall, to make sure that the resistant are bacteria. I mean, the surface of the surrounding environment that makes sure that the resistant bacteria are not stay there. I think when we work with the COVID-19 now, so you know how important, right, to know that whether the virus, or in this case, resistant bacteria, are present in the surface area. Just kind of a background, what kind of these others. Also some of them also biofilm, for example. And yeah, as you can see that most of the customers are mainly from the universities and also from research institute from different kind of countries. And then we have partners, of course, with mostly in Finland. And the main reason why the customer use our service, as I mentioned, first of all, like we try to provide them an easy access to state-of-the-art technology, because we use one of technology called Smart Chip qPCR, and this is one of technology that are pretty high throughput and quite advanced. Normally, of course, you can buy your own machine, but then it will take quite a lot of resource if you buy your own machine. And that's one of the reasons that the benefit for the customers mean that you don't need to have a upfront investment. I mean, you don't need to build your own lab, which can be cost quite expensive. And then in addition to this, you don't even need to be an expert on the molecular genetics or bacterial genetics for monitoring antibiotic resistance. And I think the best advantage here is because we can provide the result fast and comprehensively. And because compare if you do by your own, by yourself in your own lab. And yeah, of course, I need to always inform this, the importance of the SDGs. And because when you are starting now research, or especially if you work in business, it's important that our activities need to support the global sustainable development goals. In our case, we are focusing SDG 3 and 6, but also supporting SDG 9, 11, and 12. And yeah, this is our current team. We are 10 of us. 5 of us are full-time and the other 5 are part-time. We try to maintain the balance, the gender balance here. So you can see here we have 5 female and 5 males. And then we are a multinational team. We are from Indonesia, Finland, Sweden, and Nepal. And also we have quite diverse skills in this case. It can be from, including like, especially now we also have addition on impact analysis. And of course, like we also try to have focus on marketing and brand. So which is mean that even though our company is a biotechnology company, but we have different kind of skills to provide the service that we are currently providing now in the company. And not to mention, of course, the advisors is very important in business, because as you may know, I'm also coming from the research background, so my business knowledge is not so like very early stage. And that's why having advisors in the business side is very important in business. And of course, the advisors in science and in this case in hospital, because still we are working on antibiotic resistance, so it's important to know whether there's impact in human health. And yeah, so this is the idea we talk about research, right? Like what type of research that you can sell to company. So in our case, even we are a company, we are still doing research, in this case, R&D especially. So if you ask me what type of research that you can sell to the company, first of all, any research that can support the R&D of the company. Like for example, in our case, we are trying to do research on wastewater monitoring in hospital. We hope that by monitoring this antibiotic resistance in hospital wastewater can provide as an early warning system for the hospital if there is some potential outbreak of resistant bacteria in hospital. So we did a proof of concept with, for example, HUS, and we do this still grant. However, the grant not from Academy of Finland as normally academician get, but we receive from Business Finland. And Business Finland also can provide grant for academia. And I read some of the attendance here that helping researchers to get Business Finland grant, right? So you know also better that indeed any research that can be done together with the company, so you can get the access on grant from Business Finland. And yeah, we receive maybe not, it's not like really big money, but it's still like good amount of money for us to perform some kind of proof of concept research for our R&D development. I mean, for R&D of new product in the company. In addition to this R&D grant from Business Finland, we also receive business partnership support. So it's a type of grant from Fin Partnership because we perform this pilot project research. This is a research project in Indonesia. And yeah, for example, we did a pilot in 3 hospitals in Indonesia that we collaborate with universities in Indonesia, for example, University of Indonesia and University of Brawijaya, where they have a connection with the hospital that we are working with. And yeah, so it means that this kind of research, it also no need to be done in Finland, but also can be done abroad. And then we also receive now the new funding from Business Finland, especially if you want to work in developing country, they call this DevLab grant support. So we do also receive just this early year in January to perform another pilot projects in hospital in Thailand and Nepal. So this is what I'm saying, that even in the company, most of the company, especially if it's biotechnology company or life science company, I believe they have a lot of kind of R&D research. And that's why if you have some research, if you like try to plan a new research, especially if you're a postdoc, if you want to start your postdoc, and if you want to contribute working with the company, try to contact the R&D side of the company and let's see what type of research they're working. And then if you can collaborate to do the research together. And of course, the benefit for the company is really good to have a partner from the university, because some of the funding or some of the expenses, especially the salaries to perform the research, can be done from the academia side. And yeah, so the idea of why we are doing this pilot project, not only simply providing a service, but we have, of course, like bigger vision, like we want to build the global map of antibiotic resistance in the environment. We start with the hospital wastewater or any type of wastewater samples. And yeah, I hope that the more we work, receive the samples, then hopefully we can build this global map as soon as possible, because from our side that we're really concerned the importance of monitoring on this antibiotic resistance, not only in one country, but it needs to be done globally, because as you may know, we learned from COVID-19, right? When there's a pandemic, is a borderless. So it's very important that we work together in preventing the future pandemics, in this case for the future pandemic of antibiotic resistance. And that's why the importance of the collaboration on providing this monitoring as in the global scale. And yeah, that's all about the company, myself, and then now a little bit about myself and how I end up in Finland, first of all, because I'm originally from Indonesia. So from Java Island, if you know Indonesia. I'm actually from Bandung, is the capital city and west part of Java Island. I did my bachelor in biotechnology from University of Al Azhar Indonesia in Jakarta. And then I moved to South Korea for my master's degree. I work on environmental science, but then I still focus on microbiology. So even though in biotechnology or in environmental science, but the core of my study is always microbiology, means that I'm working with the bacteria. And then after I finished my master in 2010, I moved to Finland for my PhD. I started as a research assistant at the time, but I only start my PhD on 2010 at the University of Helsinki at the Department of Microbiology. And of course, the PhD also then is microbial biotechnology. And I graduated in 2016. And I start a postdoc after I did my PhD. I continue as a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Helsinki, the same group, because what I did in my PhD is like where I start learning about antibiotic resistance in the environment. So I work at that time on my PhD in aquaculture. And then I realized that I have never seen any study like this in Indonesia. So that's why I proposed the project for my postdoctoral research, and we got the funding from a development grant from Academy of Finland, where you can, work a project in developing country. And then this is the research, and that's actually when I start to learn that antibiotic resistant issue in the environments are really, really not good, let's say, especially in the countries where wastewater are not treated well. So, like all of these resistant bacteria from the waste are released to the river. And of course, when it's a rich river, means that water are connected, right? And that will be end up to the human, because when the river water use are for, food, agriculture, or simply that if we are swimming there, or maybe if not swimming there, but still like have in contact with the water system, then sooner or later, this resistant bacteria will transfer to us, to human, or to the food, which is then from the food to us. So this is the reason that I started the feeling that we really need to do something, because otherwise, resistant bacteria will spread everywhere, and then none of us will be safe. Even though you said, I don't use antibiotics, I don't feel sick, but then if you eat food that are contaminated with resistant bacteria, you will get diarrhea, where no antibiotics can cure your diarrhea. That's bad, right? Because we don't want to have this kind of situation for everyone. And this is one of the reasons I got the feeling that I need to move out from academia, because when my position as a postdoc, the funding is very limited, and I cannot do much, let's say, as to do a lot of projects in this case. And this is one of the reasons why then I get exposed with the entrepreneurship, where I learn about business model canvas. You can see this is the first business model canvas of Resistomap idea. Okay, sorry for my handwriting, but you can see that the most important here, let me show if I have, there is not, I cannot show, but like, if you see, no, I cannot, but yeah, I try to find the eraser. Mouse, yeah, okay, here. So no, still cannot show, but I just want to to show here that the most important here in this business model canvas, of course, you can download this in the Google. If you have some idea on, in this case, if you want to build your own company based on your research. So the most important from this business model canvas is the most important, you need to know the value proposition. So means that who do you want, what kind of thing that you want to do, you know, like to help people, who do you want to, what type of thing that you want to help people. And then the customer segment, where is the people that you want to help. And then another one is the key resource, mean that like, what do you have, right? Because in this case, like for example, I have the knowledge and PhD on this antibiotic resistant monitoring. And then in my case also, you know, I need to know what kind of ability I have, and I put there. And then the value proposition is, I mentioned like what we can do for people that we want to help. And then the customer segment, where's the people you want to help. So these three, I think, is the very basic that you should write down if you want to do the business from research. And then of course, the other part of the points you need to also fill out to make sure that the idea is feasible or not. And then you will find out also whether some point that cannot fulfilled by you, for example. And then like in my case, like I would need some data scientists or someone who understands to build the idea into real product or a service in this case. Then in my case, I discussed with my friend who actually we did master together in South Korea, but of course he's a computer science. And that's one of the reasons when I discussed with him that he understood how to build, you know, from idea into real action. And that's why my co-founder, William, together we built the company, because we kind of combine the idea and then how this idea will need to be realize it, like, you know, make some kind of a flow chart how the system will be done. And this is very important, because if you have only idea, then it won't never be happen if you don't know how to make the idea into real action. And to make this idea into real action, the first stage, as I show here, by building the business model canvas. So it's very important to try this if you have some idea to do the business. And then, but I would recommend use the new one. It's called Sustainable Business Model Canvas, because they have some addition, you know, parameters in the planning on your business. Because what's the point you are doing business, but if you are making bad impact to the environment. So this is very important this day. I believe you know better, right? The situation of our environment. So it's very important when you're building the business, you need to understand also the risk in not only environment, of course, in the social point of view, and also in the economy point of view. And yeah, so it's kind of the summary of my talk today. So I have the business idea in 2017 when I was a postdoctoral researcher. So it means like some of you, if you're a postdoc, so you know also that the problem that you want to solve, usually you have that kind of stage, right? When you understand there's some problem that there's need to be solved. But then, as I mentioned, that it's very rarely you can do yourself. So it's very important to find your co-founders, and then to have in my case, because I need laboratory, so I do partnership with Nordic laboratories where of course, who has the machine and who has everything, because where I get the access to all this advanced, you know, equipment in laboratory. And it's very important to build a partnership with the laboratory that has the equipment that you need for your product or for your service. And then, yeah, in June 2018, the company is incorporated. So it means that during my postdoc, the company is already built. So I did full-time postdoc, but then a part-time company, while, you know, like kind of setting up how the company should be go and organize, or piloting with the potential new customer. And then, of course, to make sure that you still have salary while you are doing working in the business. And then only into 2019, when we start receive the first angel investment, and as I mentioned, partnership with Nordic laboratories, and then kind of potential customers to test our product. So then I decided to 2019, I moved from academia to business as a full-time, even though it's a bit kind of kind of hard to make this decision, because if when I move to business, I'm not sure whether will I get salary anymore for the next future year. And yeah, and then but then you never know if you work hard and then if you believe what you are doing, and especially if you have big or strong motivation to solve the problem. I believe that every business will strive, like it will work, because if we are trying to solve some global problem, especially, and we know exactly the problem that should be solved, I believe every business, there will be some business there. And yeah, as you can see here that within from 2019 now up to 2022, now we are, I'm still working full-time in the company, and then I have 10 team members. We have more than 80 customers, which is over 170 projects, means that many customers are returned to us to use our service, which has been really good, right? And then we serve over 34 countries. So it's especially, as I mentioned, if it's a global problem, it's very easy for you to have a customer also globally, not only from Finland. And then since then we already, achieved over 2 million euros. So can you imagine, in research, it's so hard, right, to get that much amount of money for one type of research. So the idea in business is very nice, because you can receive funding not only from research grant, but also can be coming from the customer or even from the investors. And that's all from my talk today. Thank you, and looking forward for more discussion with all of you.
Thank you, Windi. Thanks a lot. You gave so many interesting input. And while you were talking, I just sent a poll to understand a bit more our audience. And I think that if you can see it all now, you can still answer to it to understand if our audience are thinking to switch mainly, of course, from academia to business, but somebody even might be thinking about switching from business to academia. So it would be interesting to understand. I think now I will end this, but while you were talking, I had a couple of you were talking about having your very diversified and international team. So basically now you are the entrepreneur who is looking for talents to support your vision and your idea. So how did you recruit them? Because a lot of people are interested to enter into the business after their PhD or postdoc. So I guess in your team there are a lot of these researcher and postdoc. So how do you recruit them?
Yes, actually, especially for someone who just finished that PhD, check the Postdoc. If you can search this Postdoc grant. So that is actually grant that support you to work in the company. So the company don't need to, the salary will come from this Postdoc grant, which is like win-win solution for the company and for you, right? Because you might be not sure whether company is your path, because I knew that when you are doing research, sometimes company is not fit for you because company has a certain goals that you need to do. So it's not your interest anymore, your research interest anymore, but it's more like the company goals research. So it's very important. That's why this Postdoc will help you whether the company goals is the same as your research interest, then it's match. And then of course for the company also, we don't know whether this postdoc or this researcher will work well in our company, because then we don't spend a lot of money, because hiring postdoc is really expensive for the company. And it's for the company's win-win solution, because there's some expert will handle the R&D part of the project through the grant. So we just need to provide the materials. And for example, there's Postdoc, so please check it out. And then the second one, I think it's very important to have the network. I think, right? I think it's always important to have this network. Like, for example, by joining this event, you at least get to know me, maybe not fit to my company need, but then maybe I know what company that would need your expertise, for example, like that. So that is actually one of the way to recruit. But also I think LinkedIn, this day, LinkedIn is the best place to really reach out the people. And as I mentioned, you can start contact the R&D people. So if you're interested in one company that you want to work, and then check, usually in the LinkedIn, if you search the company and then you search people and then you search R&D people, try to in contact with these people and check, of course, the profile of these people, right? Whether they are the right person that you should talk to. And to my knowledge, most of people, they are very helpful. Many people will answer you if you are really asking a real question, you know what I mean? Not just like, hi, I want to network. Yes. And then start doing some blah, blah, blah. Then usually people, okay, that's all. But then if you really have real question, hey, I'm interested to work here. Do you think that I could, you know, like find these things? And make sure not too long message, because no one gonna have time to read long message. So just straightforward. And I believe like it's not only in Finland, especially in Finland, you need to just straightforward. but I think it's international business culture that, you know, you need to respect other people's time. Make sure still, of course, the language needs to be polite in this case, like, you know, like real question in this case, like straight, that you knew that this question only can be answered by this person that you are contacting. So I think it's very important how you want to get this job. That's in my opinion. And then later on, when you get more information, then you can start applying like the normal position. But then the agent or the people in the company knows that, oh, this person. So when they receive the CV, oh, I know this person, then the chance for you to get this position or the job, I think, is higher. Or even maybe the company will contact you already when they are looking for certain skills, because we are researcher, means that we have certain skills that, right, is not everyone has. So maybe the company will even contact you already. Like in my case, I always check Postdoc list of this PhD student who are applying for the Postdoc grant, and they are mentioned, right, the skills, and I contact them directly sometimes when I do need certain skills, and it's very important.
Thank you. That's a really great tip. And in the chat, Irinia sent the link about this Postdoc, so please have a look and check. But I would like now to share with everybody who is our attendance today. So the majority, of course, are thinking about switching from academia to business, but a lot of people say none of the above. So now this none of the above make me really curious. So I would like, if you would like to input in the chat, what are you looking for and what are your plans? That would be very interesting. But we have a question actually from Daria, that she's asking if how difficult it was to formally open the company for you.
In Finland, no, I think you can do it even less in few hours. It's really, really straightforward. But I recommend you need to have a Finnish friend. Or if you know Finnish language, then you can do yourself. Like I don't speak Finnish, even though living for 12 years now. No offense. But you know, like if we work in research, very small chance we learn Finnish. So that's why in this case, if you need, it's important to have co-founder in Finnish. Then that person can apply the application is in PRH. And then, or if you don't have a co-founders, you want to build your own company. Well, depend on what type of company you're working, right? But if you're really working like OU, like what I'm doing, I would recommend really find co-founders. Is not single person job, in my opinion. Is really tough. A lot of things to do. Having a co-founders would help you a lot, especially local co-founder, in this case, like Finnish colleagues or Finnish that has not same skill as you. As I mentioned, like my co-founder is a data scientist that complement each other with my knowledge. So you can have someone from finance or from business or also from some other technique part of their potential business that you want to sell. But otherwise, technicality, really just to build the OU is like only a few hours, like super, super easy. And, you know, in Finland, everything is quite straightforward.
Yes, or you can have a good accountant that helps you to do it. Usually among these events about opening the company, it seems that the key figure is a good accountant with Finnish skills. Then they probably will be able to like this is the first part, the first step, so just opening the company. But then I guess that if the question was even about how to run the company, then it's a totally another
story. Yeah.
another
and actually
story.
I would like to mention, since we are in Helsinki, I think in Turku also, and Tampere and Kuopio and Oulu, they are or Espoo, there is called each municipality has this kind of support. Like for example, Helsinki has a NewCo, and then in Espoo there's a business Espoo.
It's called Turku Business Region here.
Yeah, exactly. So this institution, I don't know what they are institution because they're under municipality. They really help you, especially when you start this very basic about how to open the company. Like as you mentioned also, like Lucia, like in the finance point of view, like because you need to understand the taxation and the the accountant of the company and everything. So they really, and even like can help you also where to get the funding for when you start the company. Usually they have a lot of support, and it's a free support. So it's important, right, to get everything, to get the free access.
That's true. They really are great support. And here in Turku business region, that they are our partner in this Empower Wednesday, there was a service that you formerly known as Potkuri. Now they changed the name and it's already under Turku business region. But if you Google, you will find it. And career in Southwest Finland pages are under the same umbrella of Turku business region. So
Thanks.
They were really able to help.
I forgot also to mention, actually, if you really want to move from research to academia, try expose yourself to the startup community or entrepreneur community. Like in Helsinki, I mentioned there's a Maria 01, for example. They have a lot of events, or even the NewCo, the city of Helsinki. I mean, the municipality usually have this kind of startup event. So I think in my case also, in the first year of my postdoc, because in my case I must teach about entrepreneurs. That's why I accidentally encounter with the entrepreneur community. But in your case, if you don't know yet about this, is try your finding about this startup event. Sometimes there's a lot of pitching competition, for example, or simply about workshop or just a talk about entrepreneurship. Just try and get a network and talk to people, and you might find also co-founders there and more insight about the idea. And it's very important, in my opinion, to talk about your idea to people, and then people can give a lot of feedback whether it's feasible to be done or not. Because sometimes we're always too confident about our products or what we are doing. Like I don't know if you show, but in my first business model canvas, for example, I thought that I could help doctors, like Lucia, right? The first thing, right? When we talk antibiotic resistance, we thought that we could help doctors. But when I did interview 50, not 50, but like almost 50 doctors, and then most of them say no. So sometimes your idea originally maybe not necessarily that's the truth. So in this case, it's very important to test your idea before even you start the company. So test the idea, like as I mentioned, if you have this kind of the customer segment, like the type of people that you want to help, really talk to them, ask them, hey, do you really need this? If they said no, maybe you need to think twice about your idea, because it's very important to get this validation of your idea from really the customers, especially if it's a research-based type of business, because research-based usually takes a lot of time. I mean, from the research into the business, it takes time usually. So it's very important you have a real clear what kind of stage how the research will be applied to get the ready for the customer. I mean, yeah.
So basically, to sum up, do your research before.
Yes, yes, always research.
It's very important, yes, especially when you want to transition from an idea to an actual business, you need to think if it's feasible or not. But during your talk, you were saying a lot of time this keyword, if you want to switch to business, it's about networking. So I just asked to our participant, how do you think that networking is relevant for their career? And majority of them have answered, and now I would like to show the results. So actually everybody believes that it is essential and otherwise important. And just 1% think is one of the many aspects. But of course, you were saying that when you have to recruit somebody from being the CEO of a company, of course, you go and search for certain skills in the Postdoc, as you mentioned, but knowing this person before, it's very essential. And I think that we discussed even during the previous event that most of researchers tend to be inside their bubble. So until then, they decided to switch career, and they think that from one day to the next, they should be offered a position in a certain field, but most of the case is not that, and it's quite disappointing. Do you have any experience about this topic?
Yes, I think network, like for example, as I mentioned, to my knowledge, in a company, even as a big company with over 500 employees, when they have because when they have open position, it's within unit, right? It's not the big company doing the open application. It's the unit of the company, and especially for startup. Of course, before we even open application to people, we are searching our network first. Like for example, in my team, most of the team, I don't do any open application, because when I need certain skill, I discuss with my team, hey, I think we need to add these skills in our team. Do you have any network, or do you know anyone that could fulfill this position in our team? Because believe it or not, for us, teamwork is very important. I'm not sure about, I don't see this much in academia, because academia people will work with their own project, right, oftenly. So no need to be the need of everyone should, all the team can work together. But in business, even as I mentioned, a bigger company, because anyway, you will work with the small team unit. So the small team unit to me is look like startup in a way, because they are having unit that focus on certain tasks. And then the same way in the startup, we just focus on certain product that we are working on. And for us, as I mentioned, even though we have coming from like brand designer, social science, data scientist, marketing, and I mean more laboratory, but we still try to find from our network before we even open application. So usually that's why I said networking is important, because then when you talk to people, and I know people, and it's very important for you when you network, not faking yourself, but of course being yourself, but always try to be, like, of course, being a good person is a must. Yeah, but what I mean is this, like, show who you are and what is your skill to talk to people about that, and what do you need, what do you want is very important, because not so many people in networking, they don't really talk about what they want and what they need, right? Not so many people like that. So try when you are networking, inform people, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. Or like if you have an idea, I want to business idea like this, try to let people know what you are looking for, what your capability and this kind of thing. And then maybe your network knows, like for example, as I mentioned, and I'm looking for marketing or sales, I start to like, hey, any one of you knows, like, because I need to make sure my team can work with that person. So usually we try to ask first from them, and then means that when there's an open application, so means that usually they have already someone who will fill that job. I know it sounds unfair for people who just see the application and then try to get a job. It's because sometimes it is regulation in Finland that some position need to be openly called. But then on the other hand, in reality, sometimes the company already have the potential, as I mentioned, this from the network, who will fill the position, because as we discussed, we know the person already, and we knew that this person can work well with the team. So this kind of thing. So of course, not happen in every job, but to my knowledge, that's happened a lot. So it's very important for you to have the network. So of course, if you said it's unfair, why these people who got the position, but these people who has more networks, they did their job in the very beginning before they're applying the job, right? So I'm not saying that, for me, I don't see it's not fair. It is fair because these people did the homework earlier by doing networking, try to get network with the company, while some of the other just only, oh, there's an open application and then I will apply the job. But these people who's been already has an early network, they did homework earlier by doing a lot of activities to network with these company people, or like this, you know what I mean, right? So this is why I'm saying that why networking indeed is important. And then, but not only just network, just telling who you are, but really tell people what are you looking for, what is your, the most important is like, what are you looking for? Because then people tend to help, right? When you knew that you need this certain thing that you want, or you need help. So it's very important.
And we have to add that in this competition in the business, some, as you mentioned, few jobs are open because they have to be open for regulatory reasons, but most of the jobs are hidden. So I'm sure that most of us know that in Finland, around 80% of the job, they are not even posted. So there is a need for a candidate, but there is nowhere you can find that need online.
That's true.
So if you combine those two realities, hidden jobs and post job that already have a candidate, it's quite hard. So you really need to come out from your comfort zone, from your English-speaking environment at universities, and go out there and start to talk to people, because a lot of people feel very uneasy to network. They feel that they are asking some favors or they are there to bother, but it's not the case. Finnish people are very used to it. You go there with some genuine questions or interests.
Yes.
So as you said at the beginning, don't make it too long. We don't want to read the Chronicles of Narnia. We just want to know why you would like to connect with this person and what you would like to gain, and be it fair, be honest, and then most of the case you will be rewarded. But to know a bit more about our audience, we just ask what are the next step when they are planning their career. And let me share with you. Some people are starting to apply for jobs. Others are still looking for research fundings, but majority of our audience are keeping the two doors open. So they're both applying for jobs and looking for more fundings. We have one person that is interested in opening a company, which is great to hear. And other people that others, maybe they already have a job and they just come out of interest here. But what about, in your knowledge, what do you think is a good strategy to keep both way open, or somebody should focus on one direction? What is your opinion?
At least for foreigner point of view living in Finland, both option I would recommend, because living here is not cheap. And there's a potential you will be kicked out from Finland if you don't have enough source, right?
If you're not European, yes.
Yeah.
Because there is even the unfair.
Yes, especially if you're non-EU. So I'm point of view from non-EU. But yeah, and then that's very important, like to have both option open until then, when there is the company ready. Like for example, in my case also, I was both postdoc and having the company as a part-time, because to my knowledge in Finland, they allow you 25% part-time on top of your full-time job, as long as the job is not like not like a conflict of interest between the two jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So you still can maintain those one. And to my knowledge, many of my friends who are moving from postdoc to or from the research to company, they usually starting both until there is this kind of either investment or you knew that there's a customer already, like your company are starting earning revenue, that they have the enough money to pay your salary, then I think that is a good time for you to move full time, like 100%. I think I know it sounds like very vague or like very careful, but yeah, but I think it's very important. Otherwise, you need to go back, to find another country because you cannot get the permit living in Finland, right? If you don't have a salary or money to cover your living here. Well,
Yeah.
unless if you married, of course, with the Finnish or with the citizen, then it's a different story. But I'm saying like for individual, at least from my point of view at that time as a non-EU and living in Finland, so I need to make sure that you have permit.
Yes.
So it's not only just business. So it's very different that the Finnish entrepreneurs, they never think about this.
No, but I guess even if you're not, I'm from EU, but still you have to survive and eat and reheat yourself during the winter. So you need to find a source of income anyway. Even that Kela is not so much sustained at the end of the day. So yes, it's mandatory to find a path.
Agree.
Again, you marry a rich Finn, then that could even sustain you. That's another solution, but we are not a date app here, so we are an event about switching careers from academic to business. So just an example, a beautiful example of networking in the chat. We have this company that I recognize as SRL, which is EU from Italy. It's called Microvein, and she's asking about your plan to make Resistomap international, because they would be glad to collaborate in the Italian market. I think maybe this kind of discussion can be taken offline, but this is a good way to make an entrance and a connection during an event. And then,
yes, please, I think we should email each other separately and not ping me on LinkedIn. And then definitely we need to talk, because of course it's always nice to collaborate. Like, for example, I do have also collaboration in Austria and UK and this kind of thing through usually an event like this. So yes, please ping me on the LinkedIn.
That's great. And I'm sorry, I didn't share with you before the results of the poll and about applying for jobs and these both application for job and looking for research. So now we can read. But I think now I will stop the recording of this event so we can go more informal and have a chat among us.